Welcome to Weapons of Mass Destruction Podcast, episode 225, which we found at WMDpodcast.com/225. You can get the audio only on any podcast catcher. Just search Weapons of Mass Destruction. And you can get the video on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and X. David, did you have a very Merry Christmas or just a Merry Christmas?
I had a Merry Christmas. It was fraught full of tension and getting things done on time and moving certain humans to certain places and putting them in certain quiet places and having game plans for that. But after all was said and done, just like every other holiday, it was stressful, but now it's a nice, relaxing. What about you? How was your Christmas, Dane?
It was chaotic. Well, was it chaotic? No, it wasn't that chaotic, other than the fact that, one of the two girls got sick. And so she's been, up and down about 47 times every night since then. So, no sleep, but, the looks on their little faces when they get presents, one's 20 months old and the other one is 3. So it's not like they're fully grasping the concept of Christmas at this point. But did the
20-month-old, did she open her own presents, or was that still like a tag team kind of thing going on?
Yeah. She does with some coaching, like you peel a little bit of the paper and say, hey, grab here and pull, that kind of thing. But,
all right.
But yeah, I mean, but when she opens it, she's just like, okay, where's the next piece of paper I rip? Kind of thing. Like that's cool. The enjoyment.
All right, next. Yeah. Well, get ready for that, Dane, because I have a feeling that characteristic doesn't go away or might come back even harder when they're 15, 16, 17.
Yeah, exactly. So, but listen, like I said, Christmas, with seeing Christmas for the first few times through a little one's eyes, that always makes it a lot more fun when you're old and decrepit like we are. But the reason I asked David is because we all got a gift. Thanks to not just Elon and his platform, which actually allows people to speak freely, but the users on the platform themselves, because through lots and lots of pressure at the 11th hour, when shocker, surprise, surprise, Congress tried to pass another massive bill full of waste, fraud, and abuse and government pork handouts to all their constituents around the country. In the 11th hour, the users of X almost single-handedly came together and defeated this bill, well, at least about 92% of it. So I'm going to chalk that one up in the W column for the American people. This is a first time that something like this has ever happened. And in this episode, we're going to kind of get into the wailing and gnashing of teeth from those in power about the people having a voice in an alleged democracy.
Well, all I'll have to say about this, and I might be getting the cart before the horse here, is just, for the wailing and gnashing of teeth, there's a very simple solution that I believe Senator Paul, has been harping on for quite some time, is one-issue bills. Like, if you don't want your bill that you've worked on for the better part of 3,000 years that has 15 million pages in it and it pays off every one of your cronies that you've ever had, well, then maybe, just maybe, you have to pass the crony bill. And then you can pay your cronies that way. But then you have to pass the actual bill that's actually going to help people. You have to pass that too. Just set them aside. If you want your shit passed, it's an equal opportunity. It'll save you a lot of time writing, about 1,500 pages? Yeah, that takes a long time to write. Just ask Ernest Hemingway or fucking
or the guy who wrote Moby Dick.
Nice. But anyway, Tale of Two Cities. All I'm going to say is, if you don't want your heart broken, little steps in the right direction. Write one bill, get that passed. Write the next bill, get that passed.
That is a rather novel idea you bring up there, David. But, I think that the reason why that's not happening to this point in time is kind of what we talked about a few episodes ago, right? When the Supreme Court handed down their decisions, gutting Chevron deference and saying, basically, you can't just have these unelected bureaucrats and these federal agencies kind of fill in the gaps of all of these quote unquote laws that Congress passes, where there's so much gray area, you can drive a regulatory map truck through it. Mm-hmm. And the reason why Congress doesn't get very specific and into the details on the parameters of the law is because they don't want to have to be held responsible to their constituents when they go home to their town hall, speaking for the House, every 2 years to campaign again. They don't want to have to explain to their constituents why a bill that they voted for completely destroyed that constituent's job. So they passed these massive bills, conveniently hiding billions and billions of dollars worth of pork in them for all of their crony buddies. But they passed these massive bills that don't really get into the weeds on any one particular issue. So then that way, when it passes and then the regulatory body says, hey, if you give us an inch, we'll take a mile kind of thing, then the congressperson can just go back to their constituents and be like, hey, listen, I only voted to support the troops. That's what that bill was about to me. I'm sorry that your entire livelihood was destroyed. So, if they were made, in some sort of alternate universe where things are actually, somewhat more sane, if there was a constitutional amendment requiring Congress to only pass single issue bills, most of these people would be out of a job. Or if they did get elected, they wouldn't get reelected, because about the first round through Congress before they were up for reelection again, they would vote on some bill or not vote on a bill that actually helps their constituents because it didn't give enough pork to their cronies, and those people would be out of office. So, until we have something really holding their feet to the fire to force them to do single issue bills, which I think probably has 90+% cross political spectrum support from the American people themselves, it ain't gonna happen, because it's too easy to pass these vague omnibus bills that hand out money to their favorite people while it shafts their rank and file
It
constituents.
shafts the stiff shaft.
Yeah.
Anyway. But no, that perfect example of that was the Hawaiian bill, the Hawaii bailout bill. When Hawaii burned to the ground, it was something crazy like they were giving
$700 checks, yeah.
Yeah, $700 checks. But then the Republicans voted against it, and the Democrats came out and said, well, look, the Republicans are just heartless pieces of shit who voted against this bill. Well, you come to find out that in the fine print that we are going to give $60 billion more to Ukraine in it. And that's why they voted against it. But then there's no, and then again, like all you hear is the wailing and gnashing of teeth. And then when this comes out, they just pull back the curtain. Nope, don't have to answer that. And just Nancy Pelosi pushed that microphone away. So, no, it's, again, wail and gnash all you want, but the people have spoken and they keep speaking. And if you aren't listening for all the rhetoric after the election about how the people came out and voted and democracy lost, that says it all. They aren't interested in democracy if you don't agree with them, which is, as we all know, not democracy. Anyway,
exactly. So we're going to play a couple clips from one of the chief wailer and gnashers when this massive bill failed. Representative Rosa DeLauro from Connecticut, which if you've never seen this creature before, just like, if you could SNL skit a caricaturized version of what you think the loonies in Congress look like and do with their time on our dime while they, screw us over, Rosa DeLauro would be straight out of Central Casting.
First of all, her name rhymes. That's always a bad sign.
That's almost as bad as having two first names.
Almost.
So we're going to play a couple clips from her December 19th addressing to the Congress, the House, and she's basically losing her mind over the influence of Elon Musk and users on X in terms of getting the original bill that had been proposed by these troglodytes, getting it gutted basically by 92%. And the first part is just going to be kind of her setting the stage, and then we're going to skip ahead a little bit and play a couple minutes later. But in this first part, DeLauro is really concerned about what her job is and the congressional body as a whole to the American people. So she has this to say.
The American public has been clamoring for this body,
Like my right hand,
to work together, Democrats and Republicans, across the aisle, to do what is in the best interest of the American people.
Yeah. Rosa, you are exactly right. We have been clamoring for you to do what is in the best interest of the people that elected you people to Congress. And by the way, before I go on any further, I'm too petty not to remark on the rattling of her,
She needs a staff. Like, she looks like a bad caricature of every one of those women in movies. Like, we need to sacrifice the young to save. You're questioning tradition. You'll bring down the downfall of our kind. Like, that's what she sounds like and looks like to me. I'm sorry, I couldn't swallow that anymore either. Jesus Christ.
It's the rattling of her aluminum jewelry in the mic is a nice touch.
Yeah, they're clamoring. Clamoring they are.
So I thought that was pretty remarkable in its display of utter and complete lack of introspection, self-reflection, anything like that.
That is some minitude.
Because she's at least aware enough of the generalized function of a body that should be governed of, by, and for the people, right? She's aware of what that is supposed to do. It is supposed to legislate in the best interests of the people, right? So she's aware enough of it to articulate that that's what we want, which I think, you interview everybody left, right, and center, all down the political spectrum. You interview 100 people and just ask them the simple question, what do you think Congress should do for you as an American citizen? And I'm pretty sure you're going to get 100% responses. Do what's best for me. So she understands that that's the role. And then when you see how people like her and then the Congress more generally act repeatedly, like the point David just made, $700 in relief for American citizens who had their entire livelihoods destroyed in the Hawaiian fires, and $60 billion to Ukrainian citizens who, last I checked, by virtue of being Ukrainian citizens, are not American citizens. So you have the elected representatives of the American people legislating on behalf of Ukrainian people at the expense of American people. So it's just
democracy.
It's funny to me that she
democracy is what it is.
that she knows that's what we're after.
You aren't looking through the right perspective is what you're not doing, Dane.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
It's
grotesque. It's mind-boggling. And it's the same kind of rhetoric that they had going into the election. And they got their asses handed to them. And so their idea, again, let's reiterate, is to do the same shit that they were doing and do the same name calling that they've been doing for the past 8 years. It doesn't look like they're going to be changing direction anytime soon. And again, I feel like you should get that we should just have the fucking people don't forget clip. It's
already,
like, yeah.
It's here.
People don't forget.
People don't forget. People, especially when you fuck it up so hard in North Carolina a month before the election. We realize that you guys don't have our best interests in mind. When literal tragedy strikes American people, you guys are just all shoulders like, oh, shit. And then Elon Musk shows up to help out and you start talking shit on him then. I'm sorry. He was trying to help. What were you doing? Miss Rattling. They've been clamoring, they said. Did you sign a bill to bail out North Carolina? Oh, we didn't have enough money to bail out North Carolina. Why was that? Dane?
People don't forget.
Thank you. Listen. And then she's going to, not to get the cart before the horse again, but she's going to mention that she worked a long time. Are we going to show that part of the clip, or I'll show.
So that's part of that we skip over, but feel free to paraphrase for the
okay, so to paraphrase, we're going to skip over it. That's what I was thinking. She mentions that they were working on this bill, which was a bailout bill for who? She doesn't mention. What they were being bailed out from, God knows, but they had been working on it since August of 2023. Do you remember anything happening in August of 2023 that needed a serious bill that took them only a year plus to get done? It must not have been very prescient, and they must not have needed the bailout that bad. So again, so you want us to feel bad that you worked for a whole year on something that somebody said no to? Well, join the fucking club. We've been doing this for how many years, Dan, and nobody likes our pudding yet. So guess what? Suck a massive railroad spike over there and get back to work there. Or like we said before, if you don't want to write 1,500 fucking pages to hear one no, write 10. Have it drafted. See if they say yes to that one. Then add the 10. Then add the 10. One issue bills.
Yeah. So yeah. No, she's lamenting about how much bipartisanship there was in working together. And then every time there's an agreement, they walk away. She's so distraught by that. But in this particular instance, what really is grinding her gears is not the fact that a political compromise couldn't be reached to pass, again, a 1,500-page behemoth of government waste. It's the fact that, God forbid, the people themselves, the audacity, had some say in this thing dying. And what exactly that say is kind of a helpful little visual here, which I'll describe for the audio-only people, is on the left-hand side, that is the bill that was proposed that she's so distraught that it got nuked, at the 11th hour. And it is 1,547 pages. And the revised bill, after, as the meme says, DOGE and X users critiqued the first one, is the revised bill was only 118 pages. Now, we've heard a lot of talk about this over the years, about these massive bills that are supposed to be voted on X day, but then are released at like 11 p.m. the night before.
It's like it's almost like they do it on purpose, right, Dane?
Yeah. So like even if you had an angelic representative representing you, particularly in your congressional district, wherever you live in the country, an angelic person who was really trying their level best to do what was in your best interest, what you sent them to Washington to do, it is impossible for them to do that when they have to read a 1,500, 2,000, 3,000 page bill, overnight, 5 or 6 hours before it comes to a floor vote to be passed or not. And that's been business as usual for so long. But something changed. And we talked about this a couple years ago when Elon bought Twitter, now X. And the reason why they lost their minds over it, the powers that be, is because it is a central node of narrative control over the people. And if the people are allowed to speak freely amongst themselves about certain things, that is no good as far as the Rosa Dolores of the world are concerned. And so what happened was this 1,500-page bill was proposed. And Elon, some of you may or may not know, he has his own AI model embedded within X that he calls Grok. And part of Grok's objective is somebody at X uploads things like this massive legislation into Grok, and Grok, using artificial intelligence, analyzes the entire bill, obviously much faster than human beings can. And so Grok is able to identify, parameters of waste and all of that and all sorts of problems with the bill really quickly. And so it fell into the proposed bill, fell into X's hands. And then both through Grok and through the network effect of people talking freely on X, there might be some, guy that is really well versed in the tech sector and another guy in energy and another guy in, school, public schooling, and they all just kind of focus on their little piece of what was proposed in this bill, and they all start, posting on X. Boom, 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 boom. Here's what it says about this. Here's what it says about that. And through this sort of network effect, empowered through Grok's AI, in almost light years faster time, the American people, it was laid bare to them on X virtually overnight just how much of a monstrosity this bill was. And the outcry was immense. People were flooding their congressional members' phone lines saying, vote against this bill. And again, the only thing that these people, really speak to is their reelectability, because they don't want the gravy train to stop. And so once you have thousands of people calling your offices telling you not to do something, you're starting to look ahead 2 years to the next election cycle, and you're like, all right, I don't want to piss this many people off. And so what in past would be a monstrous bill that your elected representative just couldn't get through in time, and then it passed anyway. Now you had the American people making their voice heard directly on the X platform that they were pissed off about this bill and they didn't want it passed. And that's how we got this 92% reduction in the size of the bill. Now, again, the 118-page bill that was passed was not perfect. There's still problems with it. But in terms of what was cut out of the 1,547-page bill to the one that was passed is a real sea change in the ability of again, a free people to make their voices heard in a quote unquote democracy and make sure that their interests, to what Rosa was talking about at the beginning of her speech, their interests are truly reflected in the legislation that is passed. So when we play this next clip of her in a couple seconds, keep that in mind. As she's raging about how the 1,500-page bill was nuked, keep in mind that she's raging against people, American citizens, talking freely on a platform and expressing their displeasure with something that her and the rest of her comrades up there on Capitol Hill are engaged in. David, are you ready for the second part of the clip, or did you have something to say on that?
No, go.
Oh,
I
okay.
was waiting for the clip. You said it was coming in, so I was waiting on it.
So this next one is a little bit longer. We're going to let her go for 2 minutes, and then we'll have our wrap-up thoughts to say on this. So here is Rosa lamenting the massive reduction in the bill.
And you know what? They got scared because President Musk told them, President Musk said, don't do it. Don't do it. Shut the government down. Imagine. What does he know about what people go through is when the government shuts down? Are his employees furloughed? Hell no. Is he furloughed? No. And when you shut the government down, people don't get paid. And maybe if none of us got paid if the government shut down, some people on the other side of the aisle would feel differently about where we're going in this effort. We had an agreement. But this is not different from what we've experienced over the last year and a half or so. Think about it. Biden, McCarthy, deal, come together. Next day, walk away. Johnson, Schumer, deal. Next day, walk away. And now this deal, walk away from it. Who do we trust in this body? And above all, can the American people trust us? Trust us with their lives. When we had a moment, when we came to agreement as Democrats and Republicans, and then we were able to say, let's move forward this country. One of my colleagues, I think it was Congressman Neal, who said this. The only currency we have in this body is our word. That's our credibility. That's our bond with each other. And when you break that bond, you break the ability to try to come together and be able to govern on behalf of the people of this country.
Well,
So a lot to unpack there, David. You want the first crack at it?
I mean, that's very generous of you, Dane. Very generous of you indeed. President Elon, First of all I need to know is what you just told me. All that happened was this bill was released on X, from what I understand. And like you said, AI quickly, Grok or whatever the hell you want to say, quickly analyzed it and basically broke it down. And then it broke it down in such a way that American people could understand it, because they don't have time to read a 1,500-page bill, do they? If the people that are getting paid to read that bill don't have time to read it, I'm pretty sure the normal average American doesn't either. So it's a nice thing to have this little AI contraption. Finally, it does work in our favor. It's not quite Skynet yet, but anyway.
For now.
So then American people got a hold of their representatives and said, I don't want this. And then she went, Elon Musk is to blame for this. All Elon did was make it possible for people to digest this and come up with their own opinion and then have it stated directly to the representative. If she was any good at her job of governing for the people, she would be elated. She'd be so happy. She'd be like, oh my God, thank you so much. We got rid of so much fat. We didn't actually want to put that in there. We just thought that we had to. Thank you for helping us do our job, which is to serve you. Thank you. But instead, she got irate. She started finger pointing and she started name calling. That doesn't seem like somebody that's interested in the best outcome for everybody. It seems like somebody that's a little upset that they didn't get the outcome that they wanted. Does it not, Dane? And also, just a slight little caveat, is this the first step into us realizing that we don't need government because of AI? Because all I'm saying is, actually, I think we should, if anything, we should just keep sending them up there. And then we'll just run every one of their bills through AI. And then we'll just go, no. And then if you actually want to stay there, you can. If you agree with us, then you're an actual representative and you can actually hold that position. We can trust you with it. If you don't, if you do the little saber rattling or staff rattling or whatever the hell she was doing up there. By the way, can she get more rings on her finger? I was sitting there wondering if she could possibly fit another, like a half knuckler. Could she get like a half knuckler on? I think she had 27 rings. She could go for the record and go for 32. I don't know. Anyway, she had golden bracelets too. She did look like a shaman a little bit. Yeah, it's interesting because now we're introducing this new apparatus known as AI, and we've got this new construct like social media, and it's finally coming to its like maturation level to where people can kind of understand what's going on in it and use it appropriately, hopefully, in a better way at least. It's just interesting to see how mad she got over the American people having a direct say on policies that directly affect them. As an elected representative, I think that that's a little scary, to be honest with you, especially from a state like Connecticut.
It's not just scary; it's a complete mask off moment to the normies, right? Most of the people that are in the sane space already, maybe flirting with coming into the sane space, all that kind of stuff. You're already kind of aware that, these elected representatives aren't representing anybody but their own narrow self-interests. You're already aware, because we talk about incentives all the time on this podcast. We talk about all of the different, human frailties and factors that go into why we keep getting more and more debt, war, crime, and why things keep getting worse when there's all these government programs like the war on poverty and the war on drugs and the war. And like, why do things keep getting worse if they're doing all of this stuff allegedly on our behalf to fix it? And why are we stuck with an ever increasing tab and yet the problems keep worsening? Those of you that are already in the same space, orbit are already aware of that. But to the normie citizen, the one that thinks, again, the Schoolhouse Rock version is, yes, these are just humble public servants. Yes, they make mistakes, but they're really trying to do what's in the best interest of all of us. And yes, we really do kind of need government to kind of provide the guardrails for society. And if not, we'd all be at each other's throats, 24/7 and blah, blah, blah. To that normie individual, this should be a mask off moment to you, right? Because she just told you at the beginning of her speech that she is well aware of what the purpose of that body is. And it is to do what's in the best interest of the American people. And then, kind of like David was alluding to, she should have, if she was beholden to that principle, if that was her North Star, I'm going to do what's in the best interest of my constituents, then when confronted with a situation where the people have a direct line of communication with their representatives, and not only do they have a direct line of communication, not this sort of like, abstract concept of checking a name in a box and then they just get carte blanche to, legislate however they want for 2 years, is a direct connection in the sense that the American people, because of AI and because of the network effect on platforms like X, were able to speak intelligently and in an educated manner about a monstrosity of a bill and be able to say, these are the specific things that I don't like about it. Not that I don't like it because Democrats aren't supportive of it, or I don't like it because Republicans. I don't like it because you're giving handouts to this narrow group of individuals and it doesn't help us at all. It explodes the debt even further at no return on the investment from me as the average voter. So if she really cared about what she started her speech with, about doing what's in the best interest of the people, you would think that a direct line of communication to hear from the people themselves on an important issue like this, she would be celebrating. But yet she is viscerally angered by it. And so that's your mask off moment. That's your mask off moment to realize that when her and politicians like her talk about we're doing what's in the best interest of the people, we're compromising, we're blah, 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 that's all just bullshit to get you to just go along to get along. When really what it's about is the second you actually have a voice that you can act on, when you can actually make change, when you can get a bill gutted by over 92% just because you are allowed to talk to your fellow citizens on a social media platform, that's when they get upset.
And by the way,
that's exactly who they've always been. They're now just telling you openly.
That's the only platform that isn't manipulated. That's the only platform that's actually owned by somebody that believes in free speech and has said that. He bought that for free speech. Straight up. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and look up a little thing called the Twitter files. And just, if you can find them, don't know where the fuck they're at anymore. But he said that the shit that they were pulling the last election was scary. Now he took their little voice piece and they can't tell you what your opinion is on Twitter anymore. That's what, and they knew it when he took it, and that's why they hated him. Because remember, people don't forget. And he used to be the darling on the left until he did that. And then all of a sudden, their masks fall off, and now you see what you see. It's rife throughout all of Congress, and it's rife throughout all of the government. And again, if they truly were altruistic or trying to do their best job for the American people, this would not be a problem. It's only when they don't get what they want, which is probably something that wasn't going to help us out very much in the long run, that they get mad about it. And you doth protest too loudly. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. And, to David's point about X being an open platform, because there is, again, from the Doloras of the world, there is this sort of opinion out there, this concept that, well, X has just become an echo chamber for Elon, and whatever Elon wants, that's what happens on X. Well, a counterpoint to that has been happening this week, where Elon has been attacked repeatedly and viciously for an opinion that he had on that platform, where he was basically, this is kind of off topic, but to get to your point about the fact that it's not just an echo chamber for Elon, is he made a point about, Republicans and, him and DOGE and all that kind of stuff aren't completely against anti-immigration. And the example that he used of why they're not completely anti-immigration is that there is not enough domestic U.S. citizens coming up through the pipelines in engineering, that he thinks it's a good idea to start loosening the restrictions and making it even easier for foreigners that excel in engineering programs, like East Asians, like Indians, et cetera, to come over and come to the U.S. because there's going to be a shortage of engineering talent in the U.S. And so that was his point that he made on X. And he has been savagely attacked, and I don't think incorrectly so, by people all over X pointing out the reason why you have such a disproportionate amount of Indian or Chinese engineers coming from foreign countries to the U.S. to learn and study and become engineers here in the U.S. is because of all these DEI programs, and that you basically disincentivize for native-born, especially white male, who were the predominant, engineers throughout American history, since it's been a discipline in this country, that you've had this massive disincentivizing program against the creation of domestic-born engineers. And that with DEI programs, like, you may want to go into an engineering department, but they have their quotas. And so in order to fill their minority quotas, they have, Indian and Chinese, et cetera, foreign nationals come over here and go into those engineering programs. So where the truth in all of that lies, is a debate that's going on currently as we record this episode on X. And it's been going on for the past 3 or 4 days. And it is going on in a particular direction, in a 180 degree, in terms of an opinion from Elon's viewpoint, which is bring over people from all around the world because we don't have enough engineers. So again, he's being attacked on his own platform for that viewpoint. And good, bad, or indifferent, wherever you come down on it, that's just the two sides, the two camps that are in that debate. But it's going on X right now. And it's decidedly not in Elon's favor in terms of what the popular opinion on X is about what he had to say about foreign-born engineers. So, with that, little bit of digression, back to Delora, when she makes the point of, well, maybe we should all forego our pay when there's a shutdown. And what does Elon know about a government shutdown? Because his companies don't shut down, right? He doesn't have to go on furlough. And it's like,
yeah, because he knows how to run them.
Yeah, exactly. Because his companies are operated on the profit and loss, what most companies in the free market are supposed to do. If you don't provide a product that allows you, that the public wants enough to pay you enough that you earn a profit on it, then your company goes out of business. Whereas the government can literally steal money from you. If taxes were done by the individual citizen, it would legally be called extortion and you would go to prison. But they can steal trillions of dollars a year from 300 and plus million of us and still manage to go another $2 or $3 trillion in debt every year. So even with legalized theft, you people cannot manage to spend within your means. And we're supposed to have, such sympathy for you when, you have to go. And the point she was making is, the janitor and the postman has to go without pay if the government shuts down, but them in Congress don't. That's a good point. I actually like that she had to say that in her speech because that's a good start. How about instead of the postman and the janitor going without pay, how about we start with them and then work our way down?
I know why. Because they're the ones that vote on the bill.
Yeah.
And they always vote to give themselves raises. And they always vote in their self-interests. That's part of the fucking problem, Dolores Claiborne.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Just throwing in random names. So, I mean, listen, that's kind of really all I had to say about it is, first of all, celebrating a rare win for the people because they,
Yeah, good on you guys who got out there and fucking got in your representative's ear. Good for you. That's impressive. That again, that gives me more hope that there are people out there that, really dig their teeth into this stuff and are willing to, and I guess I should kind of kick myself in the ass for doing that stuff too, because I should be more involved. I should really do, call my congressman more often, be in his ear. But that's cool. That's cool that you guys took the time out, that you invested into it, and God, do it more. Hopefully this is only the start, and that it becomes more and more efficient, and you guys are more and more listened to, or we are more and more listened to as an American people. And maybe we can get this wagon train back on the right track. I don't know.
Yeah. And, the next time a Rosa DeLauro is out there, losing her marbles, what few she has left on somebody like a President Musk controlling the government, why don't you just ask her if she's ever had a problem with other unelected officials like Hillary Clinton when she's not in office but still controlling the Democratic Party, or Bezos, or the Soros family, or Bill Gates, or AIPAC, or Rockefeller, or the Fed. All of these individuals and groups of individuals that never show up on any ballot, when they exert outsized control over the operation of government, see if she complains about them as much as she does about Musk for checks notes, has the audacity to let the American people know what the hell is going on so that they can voice their displeasure with their representatives.
I just want to, before we start signing off, I just want to apologize for all the listeners that are even somewhat like me, and that it took me this long to come up with this name. But Delora the Explorer. Sorry. I should have got that one.
For that should have been that imagery.
Yeah. Delora the Explorer. Yeah.
Swipe or no swiping.
Oh, what's in the backpack? Come on. Backpack. Your fucking money. Backpack. Anyway, Dan, with that, hey, that's a hopeful tone for the last episode of 2024. Maybe this is going to be out before 2024 ends,
it will be,
right?
Yes, it will be on. It will be out on Monday the 30th. So the people will see it, and within 48 hours, we'll have a brand new year to celebrate.
And where can they find that before the end of this 2024?
They can find it at wmdpodcast.com/225. They can get the audio only on any podcast catcher. Just search Weapons of Meme Destruction. They can get the video on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and X. And then, while they're over at wmdpodcast.com, do all of the other podcast supporting tasks while you're over there. Check the Support Our Work tab. See how you can donate to us financially. Join the email list so that you always stay in contact with the show. And other than that, on any platform you see us, and please subscribe to us on as many of them as you can. Like, subscribe, share, get in the comments. And then other than that, just tell friends and family about us, because every little click of that subscribe button and the get notifications button and every little comment down there in the bottom is algo food for whatever platform you find us on. And that helps our reach. And that helps, hopefully, the sane space grow a little bit more with each passing episode.
There you go. Well, thanks for going through another revolution around the sun with us, guys. And until 2025, stay safe, but more importantly, stay free.